Welcome to WeLearn Virtual Learning Network. This is session number 7, Understanding Man and Woman. Topics which we are going to cover in this session are introduction, male and female versus masculine and feminine, physical differences, emotional differences, intellectual differences, aggression and violence, jobs and gender, differences in sexual behavior, man, woman and family. Coming towards the introduction. Both men and women be to the species of Homo sapiens. Both of them are equally human, but there are many differences between them. Some of these differences are real and based on the biological nature of man and woman. These fundamental biological differences have been used as a reason for sweeping generalization about the differences in the way in which men and women think, feel, and act. These are called cultural stereotypes. Male and female versus masculine and feminine. Sexual differentiation is a biological process. It provides the basis of human reproduction. Genital sex can be altered through surgery. Through the genetic sex remains the same. There are some universal stereotypes about men and women. Men are, for example, thought to be the physical tougher, more aggressive, more rational, but able to handle sex without love, and more merely like to be successful at work by virtue of their greater will to win. Women, on the other hand, are held to be more emotional and unpredictable, interested in people rather than ideas, and too suggestible and dependent to yield authority comfortable over anyone except perhaps their own children. The differences and similarities between men and women. First comes the physical differences. Under this, first is parental, the sex chromosome. Out of 23 pairs of chromosomes in a fertilized egg, the 23rd pair is known as the sex chromosome. This chromosome determines the sex of a person. In this pair, the X chromosome comes always from the female and other X or Y chromosome come from the male. If the chromosome supplied by the male is X, the baby is going to be a girl, and if it is Y, it is going to be a boy. Next is the process of sexual differentiation. This anomaly occurs after the internal procreative organs have developed, but just before the external sexual organs have been formed. These children are born with ambiguous external sexual organ. At times, the baby is born with the internal female procreative organs and external male sexual organs. When a child is genetically female and has female internal organs and external male organ, it is likely to be raised as a boy. It has been found that at puberty, if this child is given extra male hormone, it develops male characteristics like a deep voice and facial and bodily hair. As an adult, he may be able to enjoy a successful sex life. Physical difference at birth. At birth, both boys and girls are very similar. Until puberty, the average girl is slightly stronger than average boy. Boys have significantly longer forearms relative to the length of their body. Girls' index finger is usually longer than the finger next to the little finger. Girls reach puberty up to 2 years before boys. Girls' adolescent growth begins first. Now, at adolescence, At adolescence, the sex hormones begins to play their roles more clearly. The dominant sex hormones in males are endogenous, the most powerful of which is called testosterone. The major female hormones are estrogens and progesterones. Calling them male and female is actually misleading. Both of them produce both hormones. The only difference lies in the balance between them. The so-called male and female hormones are not confined to their respective genders. At adolescence, the sex begins to derive physically. Girls grow faster and reach puberty before boys do. They also stop growing earlier. Because of this early start of growth spurt in girls, there is a short period when girls are not only bigger but also stronger than boys. There are marked developments in the genital organs and breast. Only 9 months separate the first appearance of pubic hair in boys and girls. Puberty finishes for the average boy at 14 and a half, while girls have their first menstruation relatively late in the puberty. The question of strength. The average man is bigger and stronger than the average woman. The height of the average man is greater than that of the average woman. An average adult male is 30% stronger than average woman. He can run fast, has more stamina than she has. The average woman has smaller shoulders, larger hips, more fat, and a smaller limb to body length ratio than the average man. There are two different kinds of muscle fibers. One is red fiber. This fiber enables performance of activities of endurance. Men also develop larger hearts and lungs, higher blood pressure, a lower resting heart rate, and a greater capacity for transporting oxygen through the bloodstream, and a greater ability to get rid of the chemical waste of physical exercise. There is difference only in the composition of blood. At adolescence, boys acquire more red blood cells and hemoglobins than girls. The question of health and illness. The fact is that men are physically much more vulnerable to disease than women. A newborn boy is more likely than a girl to die before he is 1 year old. He is more susceptible to infections. Men are more prone to heart attack and ulcers. Women are more likely than men to suffer from the cancer of the reproductive organs and more various diseases related to the hormones like diabetes and thyroid disorders. Men are more susceptible to most other forms of serious illness. 4 times men are more likely to get lung cancer, 3 times more likely to contract heart diseases, more prone to suffer strokes and disorders of the respiratory systems. Emotional differences. Women are often considered to be the bundles of emotions. They are said to be guided by the feelings of their heart, while men follow reason for their hearts. Emotions are related to feelings. They are said to be strong expressions of feeling. Only when we know exactly how we feel, we are in a position to say that one is more emotional than the other one. 3 ways of measuring emotions. These are observation, self-reporting, measuring the vital signs. Next is the phenomenon of crying. It is observed everywhere in the world that adult women cry more than adult men. The interesting thing to bear in mind here is that in infants there is not such a significant difference between the male and female in the matter of crying. If at all there is a little difference, it is boys who cry a little more than girls. The reason why adult women cry more than men therefore must lie somewhere between infancy and adulthood or in adulthood itself. Anxiety and fear. Women emerge as more anxious, moody, and emotional than men. The fact seems to be that girls are trained to be fearful and emotional. It has been observed that even psychiatrists and psychologists are often victims of these social stereotypes, and they often see and observe more emotions in women. It has been found that women are significantly more affected by other people's emotion. This difference goes back to infancy. It has been observed that baby girls are more often moved to tears than baby boys by the sound of another infant crying. This type of emotionality is something positive. Menstrual cycle and emotions. Another statement regarding the emotional nature of women is that women are emotional victims of their monthly cycle. Women are at their happiest and most self confident in mid cycle at the time of ovulation, but they become tense, unstable, and depressed in the week before or during menstruation when hormone level decline to their lowest level. Next is androgynous personalities. The fact is that men and women belong to the same species and they cannot pretend to be so different that they cannot understand each other. There are differences between them, but it is a little bit of exaggeration to say that men are from Mars and women are from Venus. There is a little bit of a man in every woman and a little bit of woman in every man. Within every man, there is the reflection of a woman, and within every woman, there is a reflection of a man. A man will never ever be able to comprehend many unique experiences either. They, however, remain complementary to each other. Next are the intellectual differences. There is a widespread belief that men are more intelligent than women. If one examines the history of humankind, it is clear that it is men who made more valid and extensive intellectual contribution. An average man brain weighs more 4 ounces more than that of the average woman. But the reason for this is that he is generally heavier than she is. The extra ounce of men's brain come from supporting tissues rather than of thinking material in the brain. The size of the brain was nothing to do with the intelligence. Tests seem to prove that there is a difference in the type of intelligence between the sexes. Women tend to get slightly higher scores than men on verbal IQ, that part of the intelligence test that deals with one's language ability, while men score a little higher on visual spectacle IQ. The difference between men and women in intellectual ability seems to be the result of how their brains were exercised down the edge, and it could be further remedied through training. Certain attitudes and skills to a sex might have helped that particular individual to advance in those abilities and skills to the neglect of other. It may be the time to reserve this trend. Next is the aggression and violence. Aggression can be described as an unprovoked attack intended to cause injury, physical or mental. Violence is often seen as the masculine way of reaching to the difficulties and frustration. The feminine way is supposed to be more passive response. Most violence and most crimes are committed by men, but crimes by women are on the increase everywhere in the world. The size and physical strength of men in account for their added aggressiveness. The different types of conditioning or learning experience of men and women play their role in promoting the natural aggressiveness in men. Men and women are fundamentally very similar in intellectual ability, ambition to succeed, reliability, and other aspects of personality. The reason why men and women differ so much in their achievements is that they seems to have been created for different purposes. In the history of humankind, men's role generally has been that of the breadwinner, and the woman has to be assigned the task of care and upbringing babies. Therefore, men have to go getter who have a lot of motivation for achievement, whereas women are satisfied with managing the home without too much ambitions. Empirical studies oblige us to accept the motivation towards the achievement and fear of failure go hand in hand, both for men as well as for women. Men and women are equal in ability, anxious to succeed, and have much the same opinion of their own values as individuals. These are the findings of serious studies conducted on the motivation of men and women. But when there is a job to be done, men seems to be much more confident than women. People who believe that they are controlled by some external forces in everything they do are called externalizers. People who think that they are responsible for what happens to them are internalizers. Women generally belong to the category of externalizers. They are more inclined to use the don't know option in opinion poll. This must be one of the reasons why more women than men believe in God. Women have a greater tendency to vote for stability, whereas more men are for revolution. For various reasons, many women do not want to compete with men. Some other experience failure when they try to compete. But it is not an excuse not to give women equal opportunities with men. Many of our attitude about what jobs are suitable for women and how women can be expected to achieve at work seems to originate from the context where the vast majority of the workforce has been. With the ability to limit the number of children, thinking are changing. It enables women to go for work. In the developed nation, many women continue successful lives with dual careers. Even there, the demands of motherhood certainly have an effect on women's changes of achieving success at work. Though many professional women claim that they find motherhood relaxing and that it gives them more rather than less energy at work. Quantity wise, at least it cannot be defined that it can be very stressful for a woman. Difference in sexual behavior. There is a popular belief that men enjoy sex more than women. The negative appreciation of women's attitude to sexual pleasure must be the result of negativity towards sexuality that was in existence mostly in the West. The actual difference in this matter attributed to women must be considered as a cultural stereotype. This is not to say that there are no differences. We know that a man can produce millions of sperms, each with the potential to produce offspring. Women, on the other hand, have a limited supply of eggs available for the fertilization at the rate of one every month. Once women become pregnant, there is no question of their being reproductive for at least the next 9 months. Next is man, woman, and family. Traditionally, it has been accepted that a man plays in the society outside the home and the woman plays is in the home. In the normal course of event, the legitimate unit within which to raise children is a family formed by a man and a woman is legally and socially sanctioned marital relationship. In a family, the role of both the man and the woman keeps on changing. The complete separation between production and reproduction exists only in industrialized societies and those urban areas of India which are quasi-industrialized. Here, women have to work on the land, look after livestock and poultry, make household articles, process and store food, go for work and earn a living and bear children and rear them. The role played by mothers and father in the development of child has been studied a length of social scientists. The conclusion of all these studies is that most infants develop satisfactorily when cared for by a few concerned people. This role is naturally performed by the parents. When the parents have to accept their job for the well-being of the family in the long run, it is essential that a few concerned people must be present in the life of a child. The merit of extended family system where children were cared for by the grandparents. Now in the last there are a few questions which are based on this session. Question number 1. Briefly explain how the male is more prone to illness than female. Question number 2. Why do we say that in most parts of India the families remain both social and commercial centers? That's all for this session. Thank you. Happy learning. Be learning.